All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Lovely to have you here. We're welcoming you to our session, Why Sports is the Game Changer, SPORTS20 and the SDGs. But before we start, I'd like to introduce us. Who are we? This is my lovely partner, Stefan Wagner. He's the founder and initiator of Sports for Future. At the same time, he's head of corporate development at TSG Hoffenheim, German Bundesliga, and consultant to German Ice Hockey League and many other sports organizations. And he's probably one of the persons I know who does the most for sustainability and sports. So thanks for being here with me.
Thank you, Tanya, for the introduction, and I do the same, obviously. The last sentence was the same I wrote down for you. I read it to do not make any mistakes. Tanya is someone who advocates for change more clearly than almost anyone else I know, with an experience of more than 25 years knowledge of business innovation, science, civic engagement, and NGO and startup world. This merges in Impact, which is a non-profit platform that stands for sustainable systemic change and desirable future. In this role, they have developed the sustainability standard for the German Bundesliga and are consulting many organizations inside and outside of sport. And this, the German Bundesliga standard, was the point we met, but maybe you can give us an introduction how we found together.
Oh, yes, I remember. It was summer 21. We had just almost finished the standard, and we're working with 12 out of the 36 clubs. And TSG Hoffenheim was one of the clubs we were visiting. And I think when we met, I had the feeling, wow, there's someone who thinks like me. There's someone who really sees sports as a very powerful driver of change and still sees like how big is still the gap for a sustainable sport. And I think when we first exchanged thoughts and got to know each other, we realized, wow, maybe we could do something together. And that could be maybe really the leverage we're both looking for. And yeah, I think that was really the foundation and the beginning of Sports20.
Yeah, and just to pick that up, because I think it's important as a starting point. You just mentioned that we launched Sports for Future in 2019, and Sports for Future is now a network of about 500 plus organizations, from professional sports to amateur sports, big organizations, small organizations, and we try to create grassroots action, and we are trying to develop projects. We are supporting in the Global South, which we did so far with far more than 100,000 trees planted in Senegal, Nigeria, Kenya, Tanzania, DRC, and Uganda. And so this is really an important network. But we started to discuss about that, and we started, how do we come to more ambition, because we see that we don't reach the goal which we need. And so this was a starting point for Sports20, because we said we have to change the perspective. We have to look at sports as the driver for transformation, and let's tell the story from the end, from a 100% transformed sport in an international network with a holistic approach addressing all SDGs. And so this was our idea, because when we see discussions within sports or outside, it's always like, come on, we're doing so much already, and if we do more ambitions, it costs more money, and then our prosperity is in danger. But we all know where this path is going. It's not giving us what we all want, a sustainable, livable world. And so we try to regard sports as to be the example who can stand for this world we need, because it can be attractive, it can be desirable, and this is what we try to contribute with Sports20. And basically, your team has worked out a tremendous, great framework where you are about to present right now after this short film as you for an introduction.
Sport influences society, economy, money, and politics in the largest scale. We need a change to solve our multiple crises. Our sustainability crisis. Sustainability needs achievable translation and a roadmap. Sports20 is that ambitious framework to empower a global movement. It works with footprint and handprint. It is based on scientific research and strong global alliances and partnerships. We need to take action. Together as a team, game day is now. Join us, SPORTS20.
If we look into that future of ours, it's not necessarily a bright one, and especially not for next generations. A baby born today, depending on where, lives until the year 2079, or far into the 22nd century. We, excuse my French, have the planet, and it's our duty to finally wake up and be aware of how we're taking over responsibility of how to release the planet to people not in our time frame or not in our region. The legacy problem hasn't been solved at all. The State of Climate Action Report 2023 shows us that no sector is accelerating fast enough. So our timing and ambition are not enough. This isn't going that right way. We're far away from climate justice. What you see here is an obvious lack of progress, a big problem we're facing. We are not fostering the solution towards the interconnected climate, pollution, and biodiversity crisis. You see here the global daily surface temperature, and the problem, I think, is pretty obvious. 2023 is going to be the warmest ever measured year. This November, probably the warmest month ever measured. Record temperatures, record emissions, really sounds like a broken record. And additionally, we have societal and social ills, such as poverty, inequality, and other kinds of preventable human suffering. You all know the concept of planetary boundaries, and look, 6 out of the 9 are already down. That happened all in the past years. In the past years, when we all already knew everything about our crisis and our challenges. We know it since the Club of Rome, since more than 50 years. Closing windows of opportunities to achieve net zero, halt biodiversity loss, and stop and decrease human suffering. Time to act is now. And if we know time to act is now, are we in the decade of action? We think no. The world has an assignment since 7 years. And are we living, planning, working, and consuming according to that plan? I would strongly say no. Our decade is a decade of waiting and wasting time. And our current little improvements are not sufficient. And according to that, and additionally and on top, we have the problem of SDG picking. What we see most of the time is the use of the SDG tiles as something they are not really being made for. They're being used in a very superficial way as a nice decoration for annual or sustainability reports. And what we have on top of that is SDG washing. We call it the greenwashing 2.0. And the question people very often ask us is, oh, does donating $500 actually address climate action? We all know the answer. And if we all know that, we need to be addressing several gaps. Gaps in ambition, gaps in performance, but mainly gaps in responsibility to change and improve. Gap 1, requirements for a truly sustainable conduct versus incremental improvements of social and ecological performance. Gap 2, necessary transformation of the core business versus small changes delivering the outcomes needed. And Gap 3, decisions control and influence of organization versus necessary changes in surroundings, infrastructure, and partnerships delivered by other sectors. So we have a multiple crisis. We have a sustainability crisis. And what does that mean? We need a strong sector to get moving, fundamentally change, and to also get moving. We think sport can be that sector. It can be the solution because it has a power no other sector has. It's pure emotion. It affects people like nothing else. Sport has a gift and at the same time a duty. It brings together and influences civil society, economy, money, and politics. It has millions of fans and people doing sport, powerful sponsors, partners, investors, money, and the regulatory and political side. This is the power we should use. SPORTS20 works with that power. We believe another world is possible. We will live in a completely transformed world of sports, a world that takes advantage of its power, a world that realizes its obligation to be part of the solution and not the problem. With our SPORTS20 framework, we show a way to that transformed world and invite everybody who really wants to be sustainable to join. SPORTS20 is ambitious and a result of 18-month scientific research. If I say we have studied every report, every data, every framework, every pledge on the market, it's probably not true, but it really feels like that. But it can't be done alone. We need strong partnership and alliances, a global network, which we think we already have, but it still can grow. But mainly, we need the regulatory side. We need to pressure topics, no matter if we talk mobility or supply chain, because that can't be solved within the sector of sports. That problem can only be solved jointly. SPORTS20 indicates what sport can do by itself for the development agenda, but it also indicates necessarily changes outside the sector. So what does it take? What does it take to make that vision of another world come true? Basically, 3 things. First, the basis is transformation. SPORTS20 works with that vision of a comprehensively transformed world of sports on the basis of the SDGs, as if all the SDGs have already been fully reached. What is essential for that? A tool that translates the SDGs into a roadmap to sustainability for different kinds of sports. It is not that most organizations or people or sectors don't want sustainability. It is very often that they don't know how to get there because it's heavily complex. Business models need to be torn apart and be put together again by the means of sustainability. For a sustainable future, we need an ambitious but manageable agenda. Second, this can't be done in the ivory tower. It needs substantial experience and comprehensive expertise in sports and sustainability. The basis is a solid scientific foundation, but it needs additional expertise from a strong network. And it needs new thinking. Currently, we're all thinking about footprints. That is what makes the world busy today. But we need to be talking about handprints because that's the leverage we really need. And third, we need to get going. Finally, we need to show the power of sports to support the Sustainable Development Agenda and emphasize where everyone has to do their part. We need the regulatory and infrastructure side, as well as teaming up with partners, local communities, fans, and broader public to inspire with the positive power of sport. So how does it look, the framework? What's the basic idea? Well, SPORTS20 is being based on the 17 goals, the 169 under targets, and the many indicators. Starting points are the targets on the one side, and on the other side, 6 general areas of action for sports organizations. We develop topics and principles for a sustainable conduct to pinpoint areas of action in order to guide action and behavior of sport organizations. That results in a technical framework as a core document to guide the transformation of sport. The framework serves then as a basis for different guidelines, which indicate what a sustainable conduct then would really mean for different kinds of sports, showcase best practices, and shares knowledge with other kinds of sports with similar challenges, because that is the uniting thing. All the sports have the same challenges. However, SPORTS20 is not yet another framework that can be added to the list. It's about working together, adaptable to existing approaches of sports, and considering the current strategies and concepts and standards of sports organizations, as well as the broader initiatives within the industry, such as the UNFCCC's Sport for Climate Action or the IUCN's Sports for Nature and the development process. But in comparison, we have much higher standards and stricter requirements content-wise. So it's a solution from the industry for the industry. We're backed by a fantastic network with experience and expertise in sports and sustainability, and supported by a worldwide alliance of athletes, ambassadors, NGOs, and sustainable sports initiatives to foster substantial change. We're very familiar with the perspectives and approaches in the market, as well as the challenges and the hurdles that keep people and organizations doing from the right thing. So, join the movement. Be part of it. The game is ours. And I would say now, since we know another world is possible, I would love to give this to you, to show us a little bit and talk a little bit about our network, and then let's talk about another surprise guest in the room.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Tanya, for the presentation and to the introduction into this, very technical framework at the end of the day. But what are we going to do with it? From the first minute, it was clear that it can't be a German approach or a European approach or global North approach. It has to be, has to see every different views we have on this world. And so we are very, very glad that we could reach out to many, many people, and we have a 100% rate of positive talks with all these people here, and still ongoing with many others. We can't have them all here, but we have made a film which I would like to introduce in a minute. But first, I would like to introduce the persons you see here, because any one of them could be here alone on this stage and fill it on their own. First, it's Eileen McManaman from the Green Sports Alliance USA Canada. It is always very inspiring to talk to her. Among others, Eileen is board chair of the Green Sports Alliance, which is since 2010 leveraging the cultural and market influence of sports to promote healthy, sustainable communities where we live and play, with a highlight of an own summit 2023 in Seattle with more than 600 high-profile people from the North American sports market and beyond. We have here Brian Vesala from the Football Foundation for Africa, which is based in Nairobi in Kenya. Brian founded this network, and he's a pioneer for sustainability in the African sports world. He has established the African Football Business Summit, the second time this year in Nairobi, with more than 200 attendees from the whole African continent, from Europe, from Brazil, where we already signed a memorandum of understanding together with Sports for Future in this case. And then we have Claire Poole, Sport Positive UK. Before I've first spoken to Claire in 2019, I had a talk with another great man in the sustainability area of sports, which is Lou Blaustein. And we talked also about her, and he said Claire is a rock star. And the first time we met in person was this year at the Sport Positive Summit in London, and now I fully understand it, because she is, I think, one of the most respected voices for sustainability in sport in the UK, in Europe, and around the globe. With the Sport Positive Leagues, she encourages action, because show a football manager a table in which he is 12th place or so, that helps to create some action. And then we have here Danilo Malafaia and Jadia Figueira from Associação Jadia Taekwondo in Brazil. I hope I pronounced it more or less in the right way. We talked first only a couple of weeks ago, but I already learned about their remarkable work since 20 years on multiple cross-cutting issues, from environmental education to women empowerment. They helped more than 7,000 children and young people, and are committed to the 17 SDGs by promoting social inclusion, peace, health and well-being, equality and sustainable education. And we have Haruki Sawada from Green Sports Alliance Japan. He was a businessman, actually, and he decided to quit his job to start the Green Sports Alliance Japan by the end of 2017. And in an interview, he explained why this is quite a risky step, or has been a risky step, because starting a non-profit organization in Japan is not the same than in Europe or in the US. And the market in Japan didn't really seek for green programs at that time, but now you already have remarkable success stories, and we had great discussions about how the SPORTS20 framework could fit to the mentality in Japan to work on sustainability. And then we have John Odeo, Kisumu County Football Association in Kenya. John Odeo is the president, and he and his team run this from scratch, without any public funding and under really challenging conditions. The question is, what is necessary so that such an organization can survive independently and develop its impact in the society? We are about to work together in this question. And Dr. Sheila Nguyen. she is a very strong personality who embraces change with her heart and with years of experience in the sports world, former director for the Master of Business Sport Management program at the Deakin University, CEO of the Sports Environmental Alliance in Australia, and recently sustainability manager of the 2023 FIFA Women's World Cup. We have Nike Lorenz, captain of the German national hockey team. Nike launched the German national hockey forest and encouraged the World Hockey Association to optimize travel routes for international games. She's a very active voice for change on many different levels. And we have Samuel Nkoun, a former Ghana national football player and player, for example, for FC Basel. He is now running an agency in Accra to help young players to find their way on and off the pitch, and he immediately agreed to be an ambassador for SPORTS20. And last and absolutely not least, we have Eliud Kipchoge. He is a Kenyan long-distance runner considered to be the best in history, setting several world records. He became Olympic champion in the marathon 2016 and 21, and he's ambassador of the tree planting campaign in the Kaptagat forest in his home region in Kenya in cooperation with WWF. His statement came in last minute, and so thanks for all who make it happen that we can provide it, can show it right now, but it comes separately afterwards. But now we give the stage to all those people who just introduced.
Sport has the power to change the world. It has the power to inspire. It speaks to the youth in the language they understand.
Sport can be an important driver for a transformed world because it offers hope.
The obstacle is the people's mindset.
We need education, strategic investment and partnership.
Resources, both money and people, capacity, expertise and awareness,
funds, ongoing education, strategic investments, and strong partnerships.
We also have a huge infrastructure gap, which means that we cannot develop sports in a sustainable manner.
The industry needs to find clear and understandable pathways to advancing environmental and climate action.
Most often, decisions are based on money and power. Instead, we should see athletes and the planet as stakeholders and factor in their standpoint.
Sports can be an important driver because people care about sports.
And nothing brings people together like the love of sport.
And there are just so many ways we can go about it and be able to transform into our clean future. And SPORTS20 is one of those ways.
SPORTS20, if it is going to be the opportunity to talk about those kind of issues.
SPORTS20 provides an essential translational tool for the SDGs.
It aligns with our mission to use sports as a vehicle for promoting sustainable development.
We are really excited to be part of this initiative, and we look forward to work in collaborations with other organizations across the globe.
It is everyone's privilege and duty to participate.
We can use the power of sport to tackle the challenges that we face.
My vision for year 2035 is sports, the beautiful spark of life in a good balance with nature, community, society, industry, and science.
Where it serves as a powerful catalyst for positive social and environmental change.
To transform dreams.
A world of sports that is fair, competitive, and sustainable for the planet and also for the athletes.
I would like to welcome Jamie Farndale on stage and maybe say a couple of words before he gives us some thoughts about how he sees sports and sustainability. So thank you very much for being here, Jamie. Lovely. Thank you very much. First, a quick introduction. I have to read it because you have done so many things, it's impossible to learn it by heart. So Jamie is the captain of the Scottish Rugby Sevens team and currently plays with Team GB in the lead up to the Olympic Games in Paris. He has played for 12 years and been to 2 Commonwealth Games, 2 World Cups, and has won 2 World Series events. Alongside playing, he's also studying a Master's in Sustainability Leadership in Cambridge University, with his research focused on how sport can influence sustainable behavior in fans. He is also the Sustainability Ambassador for the Scottish Rugby, helping implement a sustainability strategy and is shortlisted IOC Athlete Ambassador for Sustainability. So, lovely to have you here.
Thank you for having me. I'm really glad it's worked out. You know, I was in Dubai at the right time, and
yeah, perfect.
Yeah, it's been perfect.
We didn't have to fly you in. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was a wonderful and lovely coincidence, and I know you have some thoughts for us.
Yeah. Look, I've sort of been in this sustainability and sport space for 2 or 3 years now, and obviously doing my master's, my research is focused on sustainability in sport. I think, yeah, when I got into it, it was very much I was focused on the carbon impact of events, of stadiums, and how to get that as low as possible. And obviously, still, that's a massively important part. And this framework's amazing. And strategy, that's where it really comes into play. The part I'm getting really excited about now is the fan engagement piece, the behavior change piece. And if you take getting to net zero as a strategy that's important for a sustainable future, obviously, that doesn't touch on ocean health or biodiversity loss or social impacts, but it is still a very important part of getting to a sustainable future. Just to finish off my thoughts, that behavior change piece really depends on changing people. So getting to net zero, there are all these strategies that get there, but in the UK, the House of Lords have come out and said the last 32% of getting to net zero requires people to consume differently, to purchase differently. Scottish Government, very similar, 60% of getting to net zero requires some sort of social behavioural change. Now, for me, if you look at the diffusion of innovation theory, that comes from within society, so it's not going to come from scientists and governments telling people what to do. We've got all these innovations we need people to uptake. For me, it's going to come from social collectives, and sport is the biggest social collective. There's MIT data that looks at global influence, and 49% of that is sports organizations, sports people. We have this platform, we're very good at commercializing it. For me, we need to use that, opinion leaders within social collectives, that's how you create change, peer to peer. So we know where we need to get to. We've made a lot of progress towards net zero so far. That last little bit's going to be the difficult bit, because that's where you need people to change how they act day to day. And for me, sport is the biggest opportunity to create that, and the part that I'm really excited about, the role that it has to play in the coming years.
You told us you are now in Dubai to play some games this weekend, and afterwards you have the national series in Cape Town. So obviously you were flying here and you will fly to Cape Town. What do you think? How much responsibility is within the sports to avoid emissions, or how much responsibility is elsewhere to decarbonize aviation industry? What do you think about this? Who is responsible when?
It's the biggest issue I think that faces sport is that's not so much. I mean, obviously there's the team travel. Even bigger than that is Scope F, the fan travel. If you're having an international event, people are flying, there's a huge impact. Now, one answer there is to not run sports events. But what I see, that if you were serious about this, that would be a serious option. But for me, there's so much positivity. What I just said about the platform that sport has, I think we've got to use that. I think that flying is of course difficult. There's strategy that comes into it in terms of, like you said, the German captain, and you can look at how you run things in a different way, or maybe you can have less matches, or you can put things together in order to minimize as much as possible. There's obviously always going to be some flying involved, and unfortunately, until the aviation industry, I've got some amazing course mates on my course that are working on what the future of aviation looks like, but unfortunately that's not a solution right now. And yeah, I think for me the answer isn't to stop sport. I think sport has so much positivity to bring and has such a huge role to play in this transition. And it's that, as everyone always says, this whole thing is collaborative. But yeah, it's something that sport has to be aware of and minimize as much as possible, and be aware of what the impact is.
Yeah, that's just to pick that up in a short note. That's exactly what we want to do. That we want to advocate the change which is needed, and to bring sport in a leading role to use these new options and possibilities. And now I think we are ready for El Yopkipro. Thank you.
Where we are living is this is our planet, and this is our only home. And because it's our only home, we need to take care of it. We need to conserve the forests so that it can actually make our planet beautiful. We need to take care of the water. By 2035, My vision actually is to make Kenya green, make Africa green, and make the world green through planting of trees. And if all of us actually can plant trees in our anniversaries, it will be really easy to make this world a green world. I believe in a philosophy whereby all actually in our country, Kenya, we are 50 million people, and everybody has his or her own body. And if all of us actually can plant trees in our birthday anniversary, then we'll make this country green in only 1 year. Leave alone 10 years, leave alone 20, leave alone 50 in only 1 year. If Kenya can do that, if Africa can do that, if the world can do that, we can make actually this planet green in only 1 year. Sport actually should be the first, I can say sport should be the driver to drive this narrative, because sport is the only way to bring people together. Sport should be actually a driving force towards making our world green and conserving our planet. The message actually to world leaders at COP28 in Dubai is actually to invest in sustainability, to invest in conservation of the environment. Actually, they cannot go wrong when they actually put their money in restoring the forests. If they put their money actually in sustainability, anything which can actually uplift the lifespan of a human being as far as environment is concerned. Planting a tree is planting for the future, and the investment actually for the world leaders is that they are investing for the next generation. And it's a good cause that the world leaders can come together, get real investment and invest for the next generation, because we are here to live forever. People are still young. We want to make the world a green world and a happy world for them.
I think we could easily see that it's so easy to inspire people when advocates, when people like this world champion, like this idol, raises his voice. What do you think, Jamie? Would you wish more of your colleagues at the top level of sports would raise their voices for these or other issues?
I do, yeah. That's obviously a huge part of inspiring change. Like I said, those opinion leaders within social collectives. That's often how you create the change through that sort of diffusion of innovation theory. It's very much led by opinion leaders. I think it has to be authentic, which is the important part. A lot of times I've found in sport, you get the sports organization decides it wants to do something, it rolls out an athlete and sticks the message with that athlete, and that's kind of what happens. It's certainly in the commercial space, that's definitely the way they do it. I think because this is such an emotional subject, I think it has to be authentic. It has to come from athletes that really care about this, and it's been great over the past few years seeing these athletes stepping forward around the world. And you've got a great network here, and there are loads of athletes stepping forward, and hopefully that will pull more athletes out. And we got a big name in football or something. It would be a game changer in this space.
I'd directly love to add something, Jamie. Should that be incentivized? Should that come with a reward for the people that actually become an advocate and ambassador for the good cause?
I don't think so at this stage. I think that would take away from the authenticity piece. I think if you had athletes stepping forward for money, that's not where we want to be.
Not necessarily money. Could be something else, but...
Yeah, probably. I mean, as long as you have the athletes stepping forward and speaking from the heart because they want to, and if there is some sort of reward off the back of that, then of course I don't see that being a bad thing. But I think coming back to that authenticity piece is key.
Just a short teaser. We are about to start a campaign shortly to support the reforestation program from Erik Brau. So watch out, please, and you can be part of it. Everyone here around and behind the camera. And now, Tanya, let's talk about what are you going to do now with this framework? We have that, and it's really much work in it. But what are the next steps?
The job is never done. So the next thing that we're going to do is to boil it down to use cases. Use case sports people, athletes, use case clubs, leagues, and sports events, because they have many things that they share, but in some specific areas, it's not the same. So the roadmap to sustainability will not be 100% alike, depending on you're an athlete or you're a soccer club or you're a hockey team. So that is probably one of the big things we will be working on in the next couple of months. And I think that will be one of the game changers in the market, because that doesn't exist in that way. And yeah, I think then the other thing is working with a network, which is probably something you could say some words about.
Yeah, of course, because this is really amazing that that we have already these great networks behind us or collaborating with us, and we are about to build kind of a steering group with whom we would discuss the next steps and which focus we set on different occasions. This is the first thing, and the second thing is that we have to translate it also into different markets and into different views. So, for example, we did a kind of a future workshop in Germany, asking German stakeholders what's your vision of future of sports, and we try to do the same with our partners in Kenya, in Brazil, in Japan, and those pictures, those impressions, how does it look like at the end of the day? What is desirable in it? What is attractive? Will look different, but we are different on this globe, and it's a good thing. And still, at the end of the day, sport will be unifying, and even the picture looks like this or that. It has all the same idea and the same spirit that we try to change the world together. And that's the reason this network is so important, and we are so happy that we have already other requests from all over the world, actually, who wants to join, and so we will definitely continue to work on this here.
Jamie, I have one question. I really want to know, did you actually have something like the moment that made you shift your mind? Was there something you remember, or was that maybe like a linear thing that you thought, like, enough is enough, now I have to do something?
I certainly know what sort of pushed me in this direction, and that was a module that I did. I did an undergraduate that took 9 years alongside playing rugby in business management. And one of the modules was sustainability strategies, business sustainability strategies. And I remember just thinking this is the future of business. And I thought, after rugby, this is what I'm going to do. And I didn't really put the two together until once I graduated, and that was when I sort of started looking into the sport and sustainability space. And that sort of led on to the masters and my research now. Yeah, I suppose maybe it fed from a background of living in Scotland, and you have nature on your doorstep, and I spent a lot of time camping and outdoors. So there was maybe that background there that sort of fed into it, but certainly that module, and I suppose the teachers on that module certainly would have been a big part of that push or realization of this is what I'm doing for the rest of my life.
Thank you.
And there's one question left. I ask it to myself because otherwise it would be rude now.
Sorry, I can ask it.
Okay. No, I think what the question was we had in the session before, why SPORTS20? And I think we have to explain that also. Actually, the idea came from my very old friend and mentor, and he inspired me very much, Klaus Mielke. He has founded Foundations20 to bring the civil society and the voice of the civil society to the big political stages like G20 and G7. And so we have there Youth 20, Business 20, and Foundation 20, and others. And so he asked me, why don't you do SPORTS20? It's so easy because the voice of sports can be so loud and so strong. And then I said, yeah, why not? And so this is basically the idea why we called it SPORTS20.
And if I may add that, I think that shows at the same time the ambition we're having. So I think it illustrates really well that we just don't want to be another little framework that people just sign somewhere to feel better or put it in their annual report, we really want to be a game changer. I think that is probably one of the things that really drives us. And I'm looking all the time at the WWF claim, everything, everywhere, all at once, climate action right now, and I can fully subscribe that. We really need to get going now. We really need to get it done. And I think this will only happen if we have and put high ambition to all the things we're currently doing, because we're really running out of time.
And last question to you, Jamie. What's your wish when you think of sports in 2035?
I think there's still a lot of work to be done. When that initial point I said about decarbonising sports events, decarbonising sports stadiums, there are some stadiums that are leading the way. I'd like by 2035, at least, certainly before that, for stadiums and events to be, getting to net zero. It's certainly possible, and certainly should be the case. And by then, I'd like to think that some of this stuff that I'm talking about sports creating that behaviour change, that would have kicked in, and that the things that we need people within the UK, within the world, to be uptaking these sustainable innovations that are going to get us to net zero. I'd hope that sport would have had a part to play in pushing some of those changes.
So thank you very much. Thank you very much for your attention. There's still a lot of work to do, but at the end of the day, it's our game. I mean, our game, and so let's get it done. Let's start. Let's do it together and join us.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.